Hi, hola, buenas tardes, buenos dias, hello, welcome, whatever time of day you're watching us. Welcome to Seen and Heard. I am Melia Bensussen, thrilled to be Artistic Director at Hartford Stage. And today is particularly fun for me because I am honored to be directing our current production of Romeo and Juliet. This is one of Shakespeare's most iconic and well-known plays. Although I will say that one of my questions to our wonderful cast members today is, how well-known is it really, and what can you expect to see on our stage? So I am going to introduce this extraordinary foursome. We are a cast of 16, but these four people, are just four examples of the extraordinary talent that you're going to see on stage. So I'm going to start with Niall and Carmen, who play Romeo and Juliet, and then we come over here to Carmen again. So we have Carmen and Carman, our two Carmens. It's fun in rehearsal, and Alejandra. And Alejandra Escalante was in Simona's Search, so she is returning. And Carman Lacivita was in both Winter's Tale and in Pride and Prejudice. So I'm thrilled to have you both back and to welcome Niall Cunningham for the first time to Hartford Stage and Carmen Berkeley. So it's really a thrill to have you all four joining us and to talk about this production that we hope all of you watching this are coming to see. So I guess I'll throw this out to the four of you. What I'm implying in the beginning is that I thought I knew the play before I started working on it. This is my first time directing Romeo and Juliet, and I really thought, well, I know this play, and I didn't at all. So I'm kind of curious for the four of you, and this is a slightly different question for each of these people, because these two have done Romeo and Juliet before, and these two have not, right? So I'd love to just hear your take a little bit. We're in the beginnings of our third week of rehearsal. So some stuff is gelling. We still have a lot of stuff that's the gelling he's laughing at. It's all perfect. We're ready to open.
No, I was laughing at the some stuff.
Very fair. Some stuff is very close. Some stuff we have a lot of time to still work out. These guys have been splitting their time. I mean, today, you died today.
No, I didn't.
You didn't really die. You did today. We had some death. We had some sword fighting. So you've been doing a lot of sword fighting, right? I should say Alejandra's playing Mercutio and Carmen is playing the Friar. So back to my question though, what do you think, is this play different being inside it than when you thought it was? Or in these roles?
I mean, we were just watching a scene. It was like, oh, that's right. There's the poison in the knife, and the nurse, she doesn't know. I mean, there was a whole scene today with Benvolio that I was like, oh, Mercutio and Benvolio know about the challenge that Tybalt. I did the play 125 times. I didn't remember.
So 120 times, it was one production. It hasn't
Correct.
been 125 production because you're looking very good, darling, for your age.
All I do, actually, I'm not an actor. I only do Romeo and Juliet. Cycling through all of the parts.
But that feeling of you were in it for so long, you knew it so well when you were in it, or did you? Or you thought so? Yeah.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
Yeah, I've found some things different in this go around as well. This is my 6th production of Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah,
Whoa.
he gets the prize for most productions,
What?
except for our fight choreographer.
Really?
Yeah, Ted told me we have an extraordinary fight choreographer. You have to come see the fights, right? I mean, everyone's a little tired from all the sword fighting, but those of us watching them in rehearsal, they're like, whoa. But Ted told me he has done, I mean, someone said it's close to 50 productions of Romeo and Juliet.
That's crazy.
Whoa.
Because apparently for fight choreography, it's kind of like Christmas Carol.
Right,
Everybody
yes,
does
of
it.
course.
But anyway,
Of course.
so you've done 6 versions.
6 versions.
Who have you not played?
Well, this is my first time playing an adult. So if that helps.
So that's kind of moving. You've been through all the young people.
all the young guys. Yes.
Wow.
Yes, I
Wow.
played all of them. So it's really fun to listen to everyone live through it and experience it because they're such iconic characters and I remember playing Romeo at Chicago Shakespeare Theater, and
Directed by Mark Lamos.
yes, Mark.
Just to say. So there's a whole history.
Yes, indeed. And I remember like
I should have been asking you for tips.
no, I just remember being like, wow, these characters are so iconic because, of course, everyone studies this play in high school or knows it or has seen some version of it. And so everyone has such like an opinion about what they think Romeo and Juliet should be. And it didn't occur to me until performing Romeo when I said, but soft what light through on the winter breaks. And I heard 50 people in the audience saying it with me, and I was like, "Oh no!"
Yeah.
It's like, "Oh no!"
Yeah,
oh, no,
I feel
no.
it every time.
Do you?
Yeah.
And
The
is
world
that a
saying
good
it, yeah.
feeling or is that a terrifying feeling? I mean, you haven't had the experience with
bad.
an audience yet.
Huh? Yeah, not with an audience yet. And I mean, I'm sure you've had to find a way to not do that.
Yeah,
to not
close it
or
down.
to that it wasn't about the audience's expectation,
Right.
but the event that's happening on stage.
That's right. It's always about
happening
the
new.
that's wonderful. It's always about the event that's
Yeah.
happening on stage.
But as many times as I did it, I like today we were talking about this. I forgot that the nurse knew that she had already been with Romeo, but she's like advising her to go marry Paris.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh no. She's like, oh God, she knows. And she's in there with her parents telling her.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Oh, wow.
The adults do not behave particularly well in this play. It's really interesting. That has been, for me, a discovery of how the adults in the play betray the young people, but with good intentions. There's, and I want to hear, you two, let's hear about are you surprised by what the play is being incited this first time?
Yes, a lot. I mean, I think I kind of also had the same impression. I feel like with something like Romeo and Juliet, it's like the more, well known, the more famous a text is. It's almost like the more flattened a lot of people's idea
Yes.
is of what it is.
Yeah.
And so, and I always loved Romeo and Juliet, but I think now, like living through just the Juliet journey is like, there's so many things about like the nuances of the relationships with the parents, with the nurse, with the friar,
They're very close. And I do think, the Friar Romeo and the Friar Juliet relationship, I did not clock in my surface understanding of the play what an important adult you are. Here you are in your first time playing an adult, and how
Yes.
crucial
Yes.
you are to their lives.
So parental.
Yeah.
So parental.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's like in that's the thing that has jumped out to me more than any time that I read it or studied it, is like how much these kind of like intertwining stories of like how meeting this person, this boy, leads to like this kind of domino effect of becoming like disillusioned one by all the
By the adults. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And how about you, Neil?
I feel like I'm just starting, frankly, to like make it personal after so much of like seeing it. I keep forgetting that I played Mercutio in 8th grade.
Oh, I did. Oh, well, there you go. We've got some coaching happening across.
But we were quadruple cast in my middle school by my wonderful teacher John McEnany, and and then I saw like tons of productions of it. So, but similarly, I think especially like, I don't know, just being inside of it. It's starting to feel so much more
different, right?
And I think, frankly, also today was such a gift because we've been doing so much sword fighting, so much like stuff out of the room, that then getting to watch everybody's performances.
Right, we've been split a bit. We have 2 rehearsal rooms because there's so much. There's music, there's dancing, there's sword fighting. And so we divide and conquer, right? So you're not all always watching what the others are doing in the cast.
Yeah, I had never seen the Tybalt Mercutio fight until today, and I was like jaw on the floor.
Yeah. And I think I feel like there's such I don't know, I can feel the moments in myself that I feel like the audience would experience of being like, whoa, that's what the play is supposed to be. That's like the life, and not just the version that you have kind of like already in your head from having seen it before. But there were certain lines, like Jerry, who plays Capulet's lines today, that I was like, whoa, this is so I mean, I've read this play, I've studied this play, whatever. I've never been inside this play, and then getting to be inside it and step out of it. You were
And Jerry
so
plays Lord
astounded.
Capulet, and we've made some changes in terms of the relationship of Juliet and her parents, which I won't give away. You need to come see. But the intensity of the emotion, right?
Yeah.
For me, what's amazing on it is how smart, it's going to sound such a dumb thing to say, but how active and alive the playwriting is, and how emotional and real it is.
Yeah.
So that it's not, I hope, this production of Shakespeare that has what I call the Mona Lisa effect,
Yeah.
where you're watching it through glass and sort of saying, oh, here's this great classic work. But it's rather, oh, they're talking to me and they're talking about my life. And
Yeah.
there's an immediacy to the play that astonishes me as
Yeah.
I watch all of you really drop into it.
Totally.
What do you think? You know, we'll be in tech. Don't panic. We'll start technical rehearsals in a week and a half.
That's so much fun.
It is actually. I'm actually lying. It's a week, but it's a week from tomorrow. We'll be on stage. What do you anticipate? You've seen sketches. I have to say I love this design team. Right, Justin and Christopher Swader did the set. And Fabian's costumes, right? There's a strong Latin American influence on this production. What do you anticipate? What does it make you feel like just imagining the set in costumes? Any thoughts? We're still trying to figure out exactly what you wear when, which is part of the fun of this process.
Yeah,
but
we have some unanswered questions thus
it's
far.
gelling. Things are gelling.
Some
It's
things,
just some things are gelling.
You know, there's not so much. I mean, I had a fitting this morning, and I was like, I was just remembering again, like now, for the second time trying on the costume, like how much it really completely alters my body language and like mobility, and the part that I'm the most kind of like physically restricted is in the beginning when I'm, you know, the
Right.
most young girl beginning Juliet and then going to the ball and everything, and then kind of like slowly over the course of the play, I
You
shed
loosen.
things.
And we
I
talked
loosen.
about the society. Fabiana and I talked in our conversations about the costumes, how there's a rigidity to the adults in this world. It's a very Catholic world. Per Shakespeare's play, I think there's so many references to Catholicism in this play, and Jesus, and you know, just the language and a kind of stricture that I feel you two are escaping, right? So there is.
Yeah.
I love that you're saying that people will see a progression in what you're wearing, how your body moves in these things.
Well, it is that, but it's also like even saying that now. Yes, what I just said, that it's very constricting and very like, okay, this is Juliet, the lady who's being the good girl and doing the right thing. But then it's also like they're so stunningly beautiful that I'm like immediately like swishing.
You're
and
swishing in the
twirling,
skirt.
and, like, you
So the
feel, like,
fittings are what happens, right? They're in rehearsal, and our costume shop, our amazing costume shop, is building the clothes they're going to be wearing. So periodically, these wonderful people leave rehearsal, go to the costume shop, and get a taste of what they're going to be wearing as costumes tailor it on you. And I think you're all going to look pretty great, judging from the photos that I've seen.
They're gorgeous costumes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fabian's a fantastic designer.
Yeah.
I got to work with him doing 12th Night at Two River.
Oh, fun.
Yeah.
And he did our Mousetrap.
Oh, did
He
he?
did the costumes for Mousetrap
Wow.
here, and so we're just thrilled to have him back.
He's-
Is it really the color?
They're
Yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah.
And the skirts and the corsets, right? Now, you get to be not in a corset. You get to wear male clothes playing Mercutio.
Yeah.
Is that a first for you?
In Romeo and Juliet, I've played a lot of Shakespeare's dudes.
Have you?
But it's very different. It's a very different experience to be on this side, not wearing a corset this time around, and like, yeah.
Yeah, because to watch, right, you really, I mean, you're the only one sitting here who's wearing a corset. The other women in the show are as well, except for Alejandra. But how you have to learn to move differently in this role.
completely differently, and also it's interesting too to have it and then have some costumes in the show where I'm not having it, and how that changes everything. I was saying in my fitting today, it literally feels like when you're on a boat and then you step on land,
Your sea legs
and
sort of.
opposite, then suddenly you take it off and you're used to being like this, and then suddenly you feel like your legs
Oh, it's so interesting.
squiggly. So
And I would say the male version is you're getting used to wearing a sword.
Sure.
Yes.
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
So
that's-
that you guys
that's
have. Now, you don't have a corset or a sword so far.
No.
Things haven't all
Big
gelled,
robes,
so
Some
you know.
props,
Lots
though.
of
You got
robes.
some props.
You have lots of robes,
Yes.
and you're going to have, I mean, just the sort
Very
of,
Catholic.
the very Catholic Latin American.
Yes, version. Yeah.
El Padre.
Right. It'll be nice because I think it'll inform me in a lot of ways. It'll inform the way I speak. It'll inform the way I move.
Right.
I always look forward to that part of it, and then to see what you and the designer will do with the lights and the sound.
It's another whole layer.
Yeah,
For
just
this one, it's going to really
helps
be
inform.
special, I think.
Yeah, the atmosphere is informed by all of that.
Right.
Yeah.
And you also, all of you at one point are wearing masks, because we have the masked ball. In our context, we're using as a model Dia de los Muertos, right? The Day of the Dead. And so there's skeleton masks, and flowers. But it's a Latin American celebration, which is a little different, because I feel like the sense of Dia de los Muertos, or Dia de Muertos now, which is the correct way, but is a sense of the dead and the living coming together, which I know for me has been really a big part of the journey of this play, because we associate it with Romeo and Juliet die, but we forget how much life there is in the play, and how much the dead change the world of the living. If that, it's a community that's impacted.
Yeah.
It's not just Romeo and Juliet, and that's why our other wonderful 12 actors. I'd have everybody here,
Right.
but I don't have enough time. But your experience, your journey through the play, each of you individually is connecting with a lot of people, especially these two people here, right? I mean, Romeo and Mercutio spent a lot of time together, and the friar, as we said, is essential to both your stories, but you only have one scene together, Romeo, Juliet, and the friar.
It's true.
But you each have several scenes alone with the friar.
Yeah. The network of relationships
That's a
in the
great way to put
play
it.
is so like a domino effect constantly. But I think also one thing you're saying just now makes me I think something I'm thinking about a lot in the past 2 days is like the grief in the play. And especially for some work we were doing today, like tracking the reality and intensity of different kinds of grief that sort of Romeo is experiencing, and in the newness of getting to know this play, the kind of like crevices and cracks of like the depth of those sorts of feelings that are very surprising. And I don't know, some line just the same way I don't know that like any basic fact in life, but it
You
has
hear it
such a
differently.
different-
And I'm also stunned by the interplay of how much comedy there is.
yeah.
And that I had a little bit of hubris, and I cut some things. There's actually a fair amount of cutting, and you've all been really helpful about the cutting within sections that are maybe not relevant to our audience's ears. But I cut one sequence because it didn't feel material, and then I realized I had to replace it with something equally light, because it was dark, light, light.
Yeah.
And the scene was simply the servants talking about what spices they needed for food, and I was like, I don't care what spices we need.
Everyone cuts that.
Everyone cuts
No,
the
never
spices,
does. Yeah.
right? We've never heard of, like, for the mincemeat pie, we need more paprika. I don't think it's paprika, but by cutting that and then realizing where it lands in our second act, I was like, oh, there's a gap there. We need a lightness, so we're going to be adding some music and a lovely little short interlude, not text, but dance and sound and light, right? But you realize that the play is constructed to have a lot of humor.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that you say light. The play is written in light and dark, because there's a lot of imagery of light and dark, especially
Yeah, that's
between the
true.
two of them.
Totally.
So
Sun
Yeah,
and the
the
moon.
sun and the moon.
Yeah.
Sun and the moon.
And you talk about like
The
when
dark and the night, yeah.
if Romeo dies, he'll become right. He'll
Take him
become
and cut him out in little stars. Well, I also call you day in night. We both kind of
Right.
call each other the sun and call each other.
It's like there's so many. You can't even imagine that there are that
Yeah.
many references. It's like
Yeah.
it's
that,
incredible.
and we
actually.
were talking about the ocean. There's
Yeah.
all this imagery about piloting through water.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the speech, right, that Neil is talking about too, is when your father holds you and sort of comforts you about all the weeping you're doing,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
there's this sense of all this
It was
imagery of
so
water.
striking today. I was like, oh my God, this is what the play is about. And I don't even know these lines,
Right.
these lines.
I think you need to see this play 3 or 4 times. I'm just saying, because there's so many layers to it.
Yeah. This character too, Mercutio, not to speak on you, but like,
Please do.
but also about like air, a lot of air qualities, right?
Mercurial.
And
Yeah.
earth, a lot of
Right.
earth. I talk about all that stuff with the
The
dirt.
friar.
Yeah.
And we're giving you some dirt.
Right.
We're gonna give
Yeah.
and
Can't wait.
and just a little inside joke, we've agreed that every time Carmen comes he has to garden on our stage. Because in Winter's Tale it's a very small inside joke. But
Yes.
on Winter's Tale I was like, hey, how about you have these pruning shears for the tree that was in the middle?
That's right.
And now you walked in and I said, you get a gardener.
A table and everything.
Well, because you're making poison. There's another
Right.
theme.
Yeah.
You're making curative potions as the friar,
Right.
but your first speech is all about the curing and deadly powers of plants and herbs, right?
Right. How wonderful and horrific it is at the same time that this is coming from this place.
And it's so amazing because we meet the friar hearing about making poisons
Right.
and remedies, and then the friar gives you poison, not quite. Well, I feel like usually you'd go spoiler alert, but I think
Come on.
in this case,
Well, we spoil it at the beginning too. I mean, that's
We spoil
it's
it at the
interesting.
beginning.
People,
first few
since
lines.
Romeo and Juliet has existed, everyone's known how it ends.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
The first minute that
Yes,
it starts.
and there's actually really interesting writing about why you start why it starts. There's
right, not
Emma
every
Smith,
Shakespeare
a
play.
wonderful Shakespeare scholar who has a great podcast. I'll just do a plug. Nothing to do with Hartford Stage. I'm just a fan. But she talks a lot about how everybody coming to the theater to see Romeo and Juliet when it was first written already knew the ending
Right,
anyway.
right.
Yeah.
Even before the prologue tells you the ending. It was already a popular story.
Right.
So it's really watching this story which is part of what I think, I hope comes through in our production, is there's kind of a cyclical nature to the tale.
Yeah.
A little like the seasons, like life and death. I mean, not that
Violence.
the violence
The
of
cycles
peace,
of violence,
peace
I
and
mean.
violence.
Yeah.
And the Catholic vision of resurrection, yes, but also just in every tradition, some sense that death is not the end,
Yeah.
right? It's a stop. Every tradition has a different thinking about what that might be, but
And it's also so cool that you say, like, I always take that prologue as like, yes, you know that they're going to die, but that's not what you're
Yeah.
going to be watching. You're going to be
Yes.
watching that journey to there. That's an ending. You can all know it. I dare you to watch the rest of it.
Yeah.
That's
Sit
wonderful.
in your seat and watch.
and that the journey of love and humor and fights, and it's just so, this play is so full of everything.
yeah.
It's a young, right? It's an earlier play of his, and it's so full of the energy. And I also am amazed, having raised teenagers, and you're all bored hearing me say that sentence, but how much the energy of teenagers is captured in this.
Yes,
And to
yes.
credit to both of you, because the youth of both these characters is extraordinary, right? You were saying the innocence, right? You and I had a moment,
Yeah.
Rehearsal, sort of thinking, my God, the innocence of their vision and
Oh my gosh, yeah.
the depth of their love, doesn't it? I think watching it, we miss that part of ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, the two of you, so jaded, so old.
Well, no,
They're both like, yeah, back when I was young, I had to.
But do you think that's what brings people back to
I do.
to Romeo and Juliet?
Don't you?
Sure.
Is that I even watch us all in rehearsal watch each other. And in the same way you're describing watching the sword fights with such a thrill in rehearsal, I watch different company members watch different love scenes, and you can feel the room kind of go, oh yeah, that. And there's a
Yeah.
wonderful sense of memory washes over you.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's what I hope everyone. has
I
that
think
feeling.
so. I think we watch it and we remember loving this passionately. We remember being betrayed this passionately, right? I mean, you two
Yeah.
did the Friar Romeo scene that breaks my heart, where Romeo says to the friar, "You just don't get it."
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's such a
That line.
Good line.
Yeah, I know that
Oh,
line.
so
It's a
Oh my
fucking
God!
amazing
Why
line.
should I listen if you can't see? Right? I paraphrase, but it's the
So,
What?
Yeah, nothing. I'm nothing. Yeah, I swore.
It's nice that other people are worried about swearing, given what I've said on this very thing.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I feel like that scene is just like it all is so filled with memory and experience and yeah, and I feel like so much of the play too, like in that scene or other scenes we were working on today about dealing with someone who's in pain and just like curing people's pain, how you take care of someone who's suffering,
Which you're trying to do.
Yeah.
I mean, one thing that
And
strikes me.
Benvolio is too in those scenes we were working on.
Totally.
together,
And then Mercutio just wants to.
too.
Right.
In
you
his own
you
way.
want the
I was about to
energy.
swear.
Yeah. You just it's all right. It's okay. We're not being, censoring that, although I'm trying really hard not to, since you've both been so good about it. I am trying not to, but I think what's so amazing is how much Mercutio wants to disrupt. Mercutio's a disruptor. The friar, the nurse, the parents are trying to fix and calm. What strikes me so much, and we could talk forever about Shakespeare, so I feel a need to throw in a few more things and then we can wrap up, because I don't know how much patience you all have to keep us going, but we would love to. We could talk about this forever. There are no villains in Romeo and Juliet. And that didn't strike me. I would not have thought of that in the abstract, but sitting in rehearsal and hearing the play, everybody in this play means well.
Yeah.
Terrible things happen in this play, but everybody in this play actually means well.
Yeah.
And that, for a tragedy, I'm no scholar, but I think Much Ado has villainy.
Yes.
For
Right?
sure.
Much Ado is terrible villainy. But every other tragedy. I mean, I guess the histories maybe don't have as much villainy.
Or there's just a lot of villains.
Yeah, everybody's a villain, basically.
Yeah.
Because everybody's just out for their own. But
But Romeo and Juliet, everybody thinks they're doing something for someone else.
I don't know, Tybalt's sort of
I think Tybalt, you are so Mercutio and Tybalt
He's
don't
great.
like each other, so
He's great.
He's protecting
Juliet's
Yes.
honor.
His interests are for her.
Exactly.
And he's been just in defense.
No,
he's
defense
been
Tybalt.
raised to be in this
Right.
very tribalistic family that is like teaching hatred and that it's honor to.
Well, that's actually a great thing,
yeah.
and maybe sort of the last thing to bring up is that typically, I think, or of late in productions, we've seen very much two tribes. And there's been many productions, I think, where it's identified, I mean, must invoke West Side Story in here, right? But that sense of two cultures warring. And one thing that I love about all of you as a cast is that we are taking seriously, right, that the two families are alike.
Yeah.
So that this dislike for each other, the old hatred that you say you hope this marriage will heal, doesn't come from race or socioeconomic. It's not quite literally, it's not a black on white or Latino or Anglo. It is two families that are similar, and yet they've been raised to hate each other. And for me, that becomes even more meaningful, because it's not about these core cultural differences. It's about how prone we are as humans to turn on each other and glom up and say it's us. The us against them instinct is so old and so primal, and I feel like this play really lays it bare.
But that's what I think is the no villains thing is about too. Is it's like the whole everyone is trying to do what they think is right or trying to help somebody else, and then it is a tragedy because it ends up being a play about kind of like, on one hand, like the darkest or most destructive impulses of human beings, but also the most beautiful at the same time. So it's like the us versus them mentality and violence and kind of self-interest or self-preservation or like even short-sightedness. but then also love and like pure,
That's wonderful.
you know,
That's a great way to put it.
excitement and believing in life and love and everything.
Yeah. So one last question before we wrap up from each of you. What's one moment you're really excited to do on this stage? What this right and you all know, I mean, I keep talking about the wonder of a thrust theater and how perfect it is for Shakespeare,
yes.
right? Because you can really address the audience. You're really with us. It's not in any way a distant work. I mean, you're all speaking to the audience at different moments. So beware in the first couple rows. No audience, you know, you don't have to act. But you're all really in this theater. Is there one moment that, and it'll change. This is not definitive. I'm just saying, if you sit here and I ask that question, what immediately comes to mind?
I mean, there are so many iconic moments in this play that hit hard. You know, like the Queen Mab speech. You know, the balcony scene, the lark scene.
What do you look forward to of you being on that stage? What moment? What? And there'll be so many, but
I look forward to living through the friar's relationship to these two.
that's great.
Yeah.
And having it all right, because we keep breaking it up. So once we
Yeah.
get to put it all together.
Yeah,
great.
like going through that with them and navigating that level of love, but also of counselor. You know, is something.
You're playing a grown-up now. And how about you? One moment.
I know mine.
Do you?
I also have so many, like, I'm just thinking of like all
Right.
the different
Yeah.
people that we get to play with, but just it's top of mind because we did it today. I won't say when it is, but there's a moment that I get to run by myself on stage
A
from
big
like
distance.
center upstage down to the bottom and start talking, and I just think that's really fun.
That's awesome. Alejandra?
You know, I love fight stuff, but I haven't gotten to do rapier stuff in like
Because we're
15
doing
years,
yeah, because
you know?
it's like 1860s,
Yeah.
1870s. So you have real.
yeah, and to do that on a thrust stage with, you know, audience members around you trying to get you hyped up, you know, I think it'll be fun.
It'd be fun.
Damn, you stole mine.
You can have
You
the
can say
same
it too.
one.
No, I think for variety's sake, I'm so excited to do the balcony scene. I just feel like that scene, like, I don't know, I haven't had that much fun or ease playing something, and so it just like plays itself. It's so, and it always is like, you know, it's so iconic. It's so known, but it's also doing it every time. I'm like,
Every time
this
it's
is so
different.
fresh and like.
Yeah.
And immediate and the audience is such a key participant in that scene. To have like a theater full of bodies and a thrust is going to be very exciting.
There's nothing, I mean, I know it's a cliche, but there's nothing like live theater, and especially with a playwright like this who used live theater to the advantage of storytelling. So,
Yeah.
well, we're having a good time. We can't wait for you to share it with us. We start performances, don't listen, April 17th. We run till May 18th. If you come early in previews, then you should come back near the end and see it again, because it's just going to grow and grow and grow. And if you like talkbacks, there are 3 scheduled. So if you want to hear more from different members of the company, look on our webpage, hartfordstage.org, and look and see when the talkback performances are. But thank you. This has been so much fun.
Thank you.
And you get some rest today, because tomorrow we're going to, you know, stumble through our act 2, I think. So you better...
It's really tough for me.
I said, you guys are
Mercutio's dead through act 2. So yeah.
having fun.
All right.
mostly.
And act 1. And we'll work act 1. Thank you so much for joining us for Seen and Heard. See you at the theater. Adios.